When you Google, why do people like football? It labels the excitement, the thrill, the speed of which it's played at, the unpredictability that comes with it, the goals, the tactics, the skills, the fights, the adrenaline, the emotional investment into supporting a team, but simply entertainment. Now, a large portion of a fan base amongst the Premier League's top clubs aren't quite feeling that enjoyment or entertainment, and that's Chelsea fans. Chelsea fans, at least a good amount of them, are bored with their own team. They would describe the football Enzo Maresca has them playing as boring, stale, dull, stubborn, repetitive, mundane, slow, and a whole lot more. In this video, I want to take a look at that, but let's answer whether or not Enzo Maresca is killing the joy of watching football. We'll then look at tactically his philosophy and his team so far in his managerial career, where are the problems, how it looks, the squad building issues, and much more. Let's go. So let's just get right into the swing of it. Is Enzo Maresca killing the joy of football? Its unpredictability and spark? No, I don't think so. Football can be played in different ways, and the speed of that varies in whatever team you watch. However, that doesn't mean he's innocent. Chelsea fans do have a right to be unhappy. As great as a coach and manager as Enzo is, he has his flaws. So let's go and explore that. As we know, with Enzo Maresca, he loves and demands his side to have possession, to control the game, to bait the press, to share patient build-up play before breaking the team down. And with his stint at Manchester City behind the scenes, it's clearly obvious his philosophy is influenced via Pep Guardiola. He wants his goalkeepers to play out with their feet, to pass it short, his fullback to invert into midfield, and to achieve that 3-2-5 shape. When his goalkeepers have been playing it short around the back, he mentioned in many interviews, if you play a long ball, he'll drop you. He said this about Jorgensen, Rob Sanchez, Mads Hermansen at Leicester, and even blamed Enzo Fernandez for a goal because he hits a long ball. So it's fair to say he doesn't do long passes. But his style is clear. Statistically, this was his Leicester team. Most XG, second most possession, second most touches, best defence. Then move over to the Chelsea team. Second most XG, second most possession, third most touches, about the same. So his style was definitely translated across. This was his Leicester team. Ricardo Pereira inverted into midfield to join Harry Winks, creating a clear 3-2-5 shape. This hardly changed at all for the season. For Chelsea, he's shared many different approaches in shape and use of the fullbacks and midfielders, but still the same end result. In his first season at the top level with Chelsea, his side sits 6th place, a point difference between them and 5th. At the start of the season, you probably would have predicted this position. You wouldn't have predicted them to be behind Nottingham Forest, but let's have a look at why the fan base is so divided. Chelsea in the last 5 Premier League games have only won 2 games, against Spurs and a last-ditch win at Fulham. They've scored 5 goals, averaging 17.4 shots per 90 and averaging 1.2 XG per 90. So a high volume of shots that aren't quite translating to goals, which happened exactly at this point for Leicester City last season. Leicester were dominant, but quite slow a lot of the time, and looked for different ways that shifted away from Enzo's philosophy to score. An example of this was in a must-win matchup versus Norwich. Callum Doyle struck 17 long balls, all mainly to Abdul Fattawi, their direct and biggest source of entering that final third. This was also after the supporters were getting onto them to attack, and in Doyle's previous start, he had only hit 1 long pass. So let's just say it wouldn't be very surprising if Chelsea attackers shift to more imaginative ideas to go and score goals, especially when you consider Chelsea fans are also after the team. But let's look at where Chelsea are falling flat. Chelsea were so good at the start of the season due to the key players staying fit and teams not quite knowing how to approach playing them, but also some of the movement from the players, which we'll get into. But when you play Chelsea in that 3-2-5, if you remove the space and passing options amongst the forward midfield, Enzo's side struggles. There becomes a lack of passing combos. They can't play through them, essentially where Enzo puts so much emphasis in. So then naturally, they have to look out wide, where there's only one winger. They are touchline wingers. In the Championship, Enzo had Mavididi and Fatawu, two very quick, tricky, explosive 1v1 dribblers who can create. At Chelsea, he doesn't really have that. Sancho does a whole lot of nothing. He keeps the ball well, but just doesn't really create. But he's inconsistent. Madueke, Neto are inconsistent too, so Maresca's not exactly spoiled for choice. Madueke is probably the best of the bunch, but still lacks that quality, that decisive edge in the final third that takes the pressure away from Cole Palmer. He can't do it all himself, the same way that Leicester's attacking success was slightly reliant on Kieran and Dewsbury Hall. So when the wingers get the ball, they aren't supported by a fullback. There's no wide overload, so they're kind of left to themselves 1v1, sometimes even 2v1, which definitely forces them backwards. So there comes a squad building issue. All that money spent and Chelsea still have issues out wide, but also in goal, up top and in defence. The squad building issue too isn't just positions and profiles, it's the age demographics of what Chelsea are buying. What I mean by that is the ownership's project is buying young players for the future, owning them before they go and make it big for a lower club. So Maresca is expected to deliver now by the fanbase, with a squad full of youth players where the oldest player is Rob Sanchez, who's 27. There's a huge contradiction there and a big challenge for Enzo Maresca himself. Essentially, it's a squad for the future where mentally, because they're young and inexperienced, the pressure is quite a lot for them, especially when they're being booed and jeered by their own home supporters. But the reason they are being booed in the first place is the football. To me, personally, there's too much priority on controlling the game than rather actually looking to score. There's no risk to the play at all. And people love risk. People want to see risk. They want to see that bit of spontaneity in their attacking actions. Now, having control of the game is great. It's something Pochettino's team failed to do. Last season at this point, Poch's team had conceded 18 more goals at this stage. But back to the point, the huge intention of keeping the ball and deep tactical instructions eliminates the room for spontaneous attacking action. Palmer, Enzo, Madueke, Neto, KDH, Felix all fall into this category. It looks as if sometimes they are too focused on getting their positioning and shape right as opposed to actually looking to score or create, removing that individual expression to players that we love, that bit of personality. So Chelsea, due to their shape, their lack of movement, their lack of rotation, the emphasis on maintaining the ball, leads to the ball moving very slow. The game falls to a pause. They can't find space centrally despite the intended overload, and the wingers keep passing back, meaning the ball moves side to side with the midfielders and the centre backs. The problem with this central overload as well, it seems as if right now there's no freedom, there's nobody interchanging. We see Liverpool, Bournemouth, Arsenal use this very successfully to pull markers away and find space, get the ball to their best players, but Chelsea players don't look like they can do that, which is down to the manager. Once they are forced back though, the opposition can slowly transition into pressing onto those defenders, which either forces them even more backwards or into a long ball. When Chelsea do actually play a long ball, mostly into Jackson, they lose it quite a lot. They get beat in transition too, very fast. And this comes down to the fact they aren't used to playing a long ball, so all of a sudden they've got to push up the pitch fast and quickly get into their positions rather than doing so slowly in their build-up. And that's when Chelsea falls stale, lacking answers, and the players are then looking for ways out on the pitch more spontaneously, which Maresca's style doesn't invite. But in defence of Enzo Maresca, of course the squad building has been massively underwhelming, but he needs his big players to step up and pull him through. We saw in elements of this versus Fulham, but he's no different to any other manager. Any manager needs to be pulled through by their star players through the tough games. Unfortunately for that group of players though, they are young and inexperienced, as I've said, and also under a lot of pressure. If you as a crowd apply that level of pressure to a young group of players, then they are bound to make mistakes, be influenced by the booing. that shouldn't be controversial. Colwell spoke pre-match after Spurs just how big the impact was when the crowd got behind them. So I think more of the blame should be directed towards the ownership's module, because they could have provided the manager with much better materials going into the season. And if you want results now, then the model needs to shift in an attempt to bring higher quality players ready to deliver now that suits Enzo's style of play. So when your ownership's module is to buy young players to develop, that indicates that they are going to deliver in years from now and not actually in the now. So it's harsh to judge Enzo Maresca in his first full season at the top level with a squad full of players who are going to deliver in a few years. I think you need to give him more time, but Chelsea fans are still right to be upset with the football they are playing. You can't tell our fan base how to feel about the football they're watching. It hasn't been great, but these next few games for Enzo Maresca and that tough run is going to be huge for the rest of the season to come. Thank you for watching today's video. If you did enjoy, make sure to smash a like and subscribe to the channel. What do you think of Enzo Maresca ball? Is it boring? Will it achieve them Champions League by the end of this season? Let's see. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.